Do you want me to wait? I can wait. You want me to start? Good afternoon. This is the regularly scheduled meeting at the Caldwell Hearing Examiner for Wednesday, May 10th, and it is 1:30. Hello, everyone. During this public hearing, my name is Sabrina Durchie, and I will be your hearing examiner for today. I can hear quasi-judicial decisions concerning particular land use applications for the City of Caldwell. During this public hearing process, public oral testimony will be taken from those in attendance who have signed in at the sign-up sheet located up at the front. When you testify, you must come to the podium. Please speak your name and address clearly, and all comments should be addressed to myself, the hearing examiner, and should be relevant to the application. Once the public hearing is opened, we will first hear from staff, then the applicant or the applicant's representative, which will be given 10 minutes to speak. Public testimony will then be open to anyone that has signed up to speak in favor, neutral, or in opposition of the application, and they will be limited to 3 minutes to speak. Finally, the applicant will have the opportunity for a rebuttal, which will be 5 minutes. After the rebuttal is given, the public hearing portion of the hearing will be closed and no new oral written testimony will be allowed unless I decide to reopen the case. So, with that, I request that everyone treats all parties with fairness and respect. We are required by Idaho State Code to take written minutes of all of our public hearings. Therefore, please silence your cell phones throughout the duration of the meeting. And I thank you. Okay, so with that, let's take a look at our agenda. I really don't have any items beside our old business items. This is action item, public hearing, that was tabled from the April 26th hearing, case number PUD 22-000009 and SUB 22-00037 Silver Meadows. And with that, Alex, would you like to start your presentation? Thank you. Oh, Katie, sorry, that's right. Sorry, Katie.
It's okay. Alrighty. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Katie Wright, Associate Planner, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. Before you today is Silver Meadows, a planned unit development with a preliminary plat, PUD 22-00009 and SUB 22-00037. The applicant is requesting for, again, a planned unit development with a preliminary plat. It will be a mixed-use planned unit development on approximately 28.07 acres on a site north of Eustick Road and south of Wilson Drain over a little bit west of Lake Avenue. It is on parcels R3582900000 and R3582500000, and it will be staying zoned R2. These are photos of the site. And they are proposing 71 single-family homes, 61 townhomes, 120 unit apartment complex, and a public community center, along with a playground, pickleball court, Energy Star housing, and EV parking for their amenities. A traffic impact study has been performed and reviewed by the City of Caldwell Engineering Department. The code requires 10% open space, and they're providing 10.3%, equaling about 2.88 acres of qualifying open space. They are not in compliance with the pathway ordinance, which they are requesting a waiver for. These are the proposed renderings for the single-family 1- and 2-story homes, 2-story townhomes, the proposed 3-story apartments, and the community center. The proposed development is surrounded by C3 to the north, R2 to the south, C2 and C3 and county to the east, and then R2 and county to the west. These are the developments that have been recently approved within the area. The site where the star is located is the proposed project. The comp plan designation is medium density residential, and that is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan. And the proposed densities are in compliance with the comprehensive plan due to the increase from the mixed use component. And that increase would allow for 12 dwelling units per acre, and they are proposing 9.2. Utilities are or will be provided to serve the proposed site and are or will be adequate to accommodate the proposed development. Agencies were notified and asked to provide comments. The only agency that responded was a correspondence with the applicant and the Bureau of Reclamation, exchanging emails about a formal encroachment agreement that will be in place for the location of the pathway along the Wilson Drain. And then no public comments were received at this time. And then these are the requested waivers from the applicant. There's the waiver for the 6,000 square feet lot size minimum to allow for a minimum of 1,628 square feet. A waiver for the 45-foot lot frontage minimum to allow for lot frontages between 23.75 feet and 50 feet. Waiver for 0-foot setbacks for townhome lots. A waiver for the height of the multifamily building being over 35 feet, meaning about 38 feet. A waiver to reduce the required parking for the public community center to 0 parking spaces and to utilize the provided multifamily parking. And a waiver to reduce the landscaping around the 8-foot pathway along the Wilson Drain from 5 feet on each side to 2 feet on the internal side of the pathway. Here are the added conditions after reviewing. This list also includes the waivers listed on the previous slide. The clubhouse must be accessible to the public at all times due to being considered commercial use. The applicant shall submit a copy of the signed encroachment agreement prior to the construction drawings being approved. The applicant shall show the location of trash receptacles as well as the method of screening prior to the construction drawings. The applicant shall comply with all landscaping requirements based on Caldwell City Code, Chapter 10, Article 7. This includes correct materials for pathway landscaping and storm water area landscaping. Parking lot landscaping is required and shall comply with the Caldwell City Code. Provide fencing along the north side of the pathway along the Wilson Drain to be consistent with the 2040 Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan. An updated detailed landscape plan that complies with the Caldwell City Code shall be submitted before this application goes to City Council, and the following must be addressed. Proper pathways and landscaping that comply with the Caldwell City Code and are consistent with the 2040 Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan. Proper landscape materials included in the landscape buffers and along pathways. Location and type of fencing, percentage of open space, and parking spaces designated EV parking. Additional recommended condition from staff after further review, the applicant we are requesting that the applicant shall include 2-to-1 to 3-to-1 berm along Ustick Road, which is the area circled. Staff finds the proposed request is in compliance with the Caldwell City Codes and is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. It aligns with 8 goals and 8 policies. Staff recommends that if the hearing examiner were to recommend approval, that it will be subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of facts, conclusions, law, and order of decision. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
I've already questioned you a little bit on this application, so I think I'm gonna hold off on questions and let the applicant go ahead and come up and present. It looks like Carl Anderson is first.
I'm hearing examiner. I'm the applicant, Connor Gray.
Okay, great. Thank you, Connor. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Connor Gray, 1911 Blaine Street, Caldwell, Idaho, 83605. And as Carl mentioned, my name is Connor Gray. I have been working with Carl with AG Land and Development with the project management of Silver Meadows. Do we have the... Awesome. So I'm delighted to present the Silver Meadows one-phase and mixed-use residential plan unit development designed to create a secure and helpful and aesthetically pleasing living environment for the residents of Caldwell, while also fostering a strong sense of community and promoting a sustainable growth. Our client seeks approval for plan unit development in the preliminary plat. All right. Silver Meadows is located at 3307 East Usick Road, Caldwell, Idaho. The development covers a total area of 28.07 acres and comprises of two contiguous parcels, a 5-acre residential single-family home and a 23.07 agricultural parcel. The strategic location of Silver Meadows makes it an ideal choice for residents seeking easy access to amenities and educational facilities within the Caldwell community. Our project aligns with Caldwell's future land use plan for medium density residential designations, and it's adhering to the goals and objectives outlined in the City of Caldwell comprehensive plan. This ensures that our development contributes to the long-term vision for the community growth while preserving the local character and heritage of Caldwell. We intend to retain the existing R2 residential medium density zoning for Silver Meadows, but while also incorporating a PUD, will enable our development to harmonize with adjacent subdivisions to the west and south, facilitating a seamless progression of residential housing towards the Caldwell School District. This compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood is crucial in maintaining a cohesive community atmosphere. Silver Meadows is a one-phase project that includes 251 single-family lots, townhouse lots, and 4 multifamily apartment buildings. Additionally, we are including a multi-purpose clubhouse that will serve both the residents of the community and the public as well. We have designed this diverse range of housing options to cater to various preferences and affordability concerns, ensuring that Silver Meadows is an inclusive community that welcomes a wide range of residents from young families to seniors. Our landscape plan allocates 2.8 acres or 10.26 of qualified open space for the community. This open space features a community park, play areas, micro and major pathways, and buffers between differing land uses, promoting a sense of belonging, well-being, and environmental stewardship among residents. Irrigation water for Silver Meadows will be sourced from the Pioneer Irrigation District, tap located southwest of the property. The sewer system will utilize gravity to flow towards the northwest corner of the lot, connecting the sewer in the Stone Creek subdivision at Edmond Street. Water will be supplied by the Powell subdivision on Duluth Avenue. This efficient use of resources demonstrates our commitment to minimizing the environmental impact on the development. Our proposed density of 9.28 units per acre promotes efficient and comfortable living in this burgeoning area of Caldwell. It falls well below the maximum threshold for a mixed-use PUD, ensuring that residents enjoy a high-quality lifestyle while preserving open space and reducing urban sprawl. Silver Meadows features 251 front-loaded single-family lots with diverse elevations and architectural designs, catering to the unique tastes and preferences of potential homeowners. These homes are designed to enhance the overall aesthetic appeal of the community and contribute to a strong sense of pride among residents. Our development also includes front-loaded townhouse lots with 4 different elevations, providing a visually appealing and cohesive community aesthetic. These townhome lots offer an attractive and affordable housing option for those seeking to live low-maintenance lifestyle without compromising quality or design. In addition to the single-family and townhouse lots, Silver Meadows also offers 4 multifamily apartment buildings, further increasing the variety of housing options with the community. These apartments cater to the residents seeking more compact living arrangement while still enjoying the benefits of a well-planned and vibrant neighborhood. A key feature of the Silver Meadows project is the versatile clubhouse, which serves as a commercial mixed-use aspect of our development. The clubhouse is designed to cater to both residents of the community and the general public. In addition to its other functions, the clubhouse at Silver Meadows will also include a well-equipped gym for residents. This feature underscores our commitment to fostering a healthy and active community. The facility offers leasable office spaces, making it an ideal location for professionals seeking a convenient workspace with the community. Additionally, the clubhouse is also available for public rent, accommodating various events such as gatherings, business meetings, and celebrations. This inclusive hub for community engagement and collaboration creates a welcoming environment for all users and ensures that Silver Meadows remains a vibrant and dynamic place to live and work. Silver Meadows project is committed to enhancing residents' quality of life by offering the diverse array of amenities. Among these are the 5-foot wide paved micro pathways connecting to residential to non-residential areas, major paved pathways with landscape and buffers, a playground, a dog park, Energy Star certified housing, and a spacious community park for the outdoor activities. Furthermore, with the approval of City Council, the project will include EV charging stations for electric cars and a pickleball court. Throughout the planning process, we have been mindful of the need to preserve the character and integrity of Caldwell while promoting sustainable growth. By offering a range of housing options, thoughtfully designed landscapes, and accessible amenities, we have strived to create a development that complements and enhances the existing community. We understand that traffic management is a vital concern for the residents of Caldwell. Our development plan has been designed to ensure minimal impact on local traffic conditions, building a full arterial section along Ustick with a center turn lane and a right turn lane into Silver Meadows. We have worked closely with city staff to develop a safe and efficient circulation plan that accommodates the needs of our residents while mitigating potential congestion issues. Thank you for your time and attention. We are confident that Silver Meadows will bring significant benefits to the citizens of Caldwell by offering innovative and high-quality housing options while promoting sustainable growth and fostering a strong sense of community. Thank you.
I think the first question I have for the applicant is there are numerous waivers that you're requesting.
Yes.
Can we go over each one individually, maybe highlight it where it is on the site plan, and explain to me how your application warrants those waivers?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I do not have the, could you be able to pull those up, please? Okay, for our first waiver, for the 6,000 square foot lot size minimum, we're asking for the 1,600 lot sizes because that's where our townhomes are sitting. So each townhome is one unit, and so the side where the zero setback line is, that is considered its own lot line. And so realistically, that entire building with the 2 units that are going to be on there are going to be larger than 1,600 square feet, but just with the legal description, we have it as 1,600. So we feel that is a fair square footage amount for it.
You're saying each townhome, the lot size that it's going to be on is 1,628 square feet total.
The townhome, the building itself will be, it connects up 2 of them. One of our smallest is the 1,600. Okay. That's on one side of the unit, and then the other side is, at one building, will be 1,600 or a little above.
So I'm not talking building, I'm just talking lot size.
Yes, correct.
So that's the lot size, that's going to be 16, okay.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
Okay.
And that is our smallest one, is 1,600,
okay.
but
All right.
they go up from there.
Okay.
The waiver for the 45 lot frontage, minimum to allow for lot frontages between 23 and 50. Again, those are just the frontages for the townhouse individual lots on those.
And the minimum amount would be 23.75 feet in width then, correct?
Correct, yes. The waiver for the 0-foot side setbacks for townhomes lots, again, that is just the dividing line in between the center for each building.
Okay. And you're aware that you'll have to meet fire code for the walls and everything?
Correct, yes, absolutely.
Let's do the multifamily for the height next.
Yep, yes. So the multifamily, so we believe that it is over 35 feet for the multifamily buildings, but it is going up to 38, and we feel that was a fair height for the plans that we have right now.
So I didn't see any elevations that really depicted the dimensions, the height level.
Mm-hmm.
Will you have something of that available for City Council to look at?
Yes, absolutely. We can supplement further elevations for that. I believe we have sent them to the city, but we can have more exact ones and additional ones on top of that to be able to, for City Council to see.
Okay.
And then the waiver to reduce the parking spaces. So we have 188 parking spaces for the multifamily. The clubhouse for that area is within the same kind of complex, and we felt that the additional parking spaces that we have for the communities or for the multifamily was sufficient to allow for the public community center. One of the problems that we ran into when we submitted this project was whether or not a mixed use could include, if it has included some sort of commercial aspect of, because I know that was kind of an issue with the prior kind of readings of the code within the last few years, and so we wanted to be able to have our plat that we had already created and submitted, and so we were trying to work around with the city staff with something that was appropriate that would fit that kind of need, and so that is why we were requesting for that space.
So Connor, how's that going to be managed if it's going to be open to the public for the clubhouse?
Right, so we'll have a leasing office that we'll be able to work out of the leasing office and be able to manage the events and the public permits for them to come in to be able to use the facilities.
Okay. Katie, real quick, so what did we decide? What was the multifamily going to require 180 parking spaces? Or just the multifamily? And Connor, while she's checking that, you said you had 188 parking spaces?
Yes, correct, in the multifamily area.
Madam Hearing Examiner, yes, it's about 180 to meet the minimum requirement of 1.5 per unit.
Okay, so we have 8 additional parking spaces?
Correct.
Okay, and then what is the square footage going to be of the community clubhouse?
It will be 3,000 square feet.
So 3,000, it was every 200 feet? Let's see, let me do some quick math.
200, 250, it's one of the two, I'm not quite sure.
So they needed 15 parking spaces, okay. Okay, and then the last one, looks like?
Yes, the waiver to reduce the landscaping around the 8-foot pathway along Wilson Drain from 5 feet on each side. So this was an issue, and our engineer might be able to speak on behalf of this one a little better than I can, but...
That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll finish up, and then we'll have him come up and speak then.
Okay, awesome. Yep, so it was, so there's an easement going along that Wilson Drain, and so in order to be able to, for the engineering logistics, the only way we could be able to do it is to reduce that 8-foot into a 5-foot while working with the company.
So maybe this is a question for Rob or Katie. So what does the pathway need to be? It needs to be 5 feet, and there needs to be how much landscaping on each side?
Madam Hearing Examiner, so that pathway will need to be 8 to 10 feet.
Okay.
So they do have the 8 feet, but each side is required to have 5 feet of landscaping with specific materials.
Okay.
So they are requesting to waive the 5 feet on one side and then reduce it to 2 feet on the other.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
My apologies, I misspoke on that one then.
It's okay. Can you tell me what the BOR relayed to you in that email, please?
Yes, do you mind if I have the one who?
Save that one too for you.
Yeah, awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
My other concern is that, you said that can be completed in one phase. That's a big chunk of development.
Correct.
In order to change the phasing plan, Katie, what does the applicant have to do in order to change a phasing plan?
Madam Hearing Examiner, so for us, we have recently been determining that at a staff level if needed. So that is something that they could come through and do through us if we felt it
was warranted.
Okay. We would just
that
work internally with the other departments.
That's good to know, because I know that there were some hoops you had to jump through to get it changed. So I just wanted to make sure that you're comfortable with one phase.
Absolutely.
Let's see, what other questions did I have? As far as the berming of the landscape for the front,
yep.
Is that something that you guys were planning on doing and just missed in your landscape plan?
You know, I don't know if it was discussed, but that is something that we can be able to accommodate.
Okay. And then I think my final question was the usable open space. So
Correct.
Your site plan, it was a little hard to determine. You had some areas in green that are storm drainage that can't be included.
Correct.
And so I would really like to see for City Council something that really breaks down what is actually usable open space very clearly, so there's no confusion. If you're...
Absolutely, yeah. No, we've been working with Katie on this, of making sure that we have everything broken down specifically.
Okay.
But yes, we're happy to provide that to City Council.
Okay. I think that is all the questions I had. I'll speak to your engineer now. Okay.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's taller than I am. Sorry, Jesse Christensen, HECO Engineers, 4600 East Franklin, Suite 160, Nampa, Idaho.
Jesse, you said?
Yes, Jesse.
Okay.
And I'm here to stand for questions on the so far engineering and answer what I can. I can talk about the pathway and the BOR. I heard your question earlier.
Yes, please.
The BOR generally allows the shared usage in the pathway as long as the irrigation district, which is Pioneer Irrigation District.
Can we
Go
bring
ahead.
up a site plan or something that shows that? That'd be great, please.
Could you, yeah, the landscape plan is probably fine. I could talk about, well, no, that doesn't show the irrigation. I apologize.
It's okay, no, you're fine. It sometimes helps to have a visual.
Right, it does. Do we have the preliminary plat? This is fun. This will work.
Okay.
Is there a laser on here so I can point and talk about myself?
No, does laser work?
No, it wouldn't work.
No.
Not for anybody sitting behind me. So on the irrigation, that one's probably fine. Thank you, Rob. Yes, that one should be fine. On the Wilson Drain there, on the side of the property, there's a 50-foot irrigation easement for the BOR and Pioneer Irrigation District for maintenance of the ditch. It generally follows the old center line of the ditch, but over years and different water events, there's quite a bit of erosion on there. So we've asked for the 8-foot pathway with just a 2-foot landscape strip on it, and then the fence, because we met with Pioneer Irrigation District on site. They talked about being able to repair several areas throughout the summer of the erosion, but their minimum requirement for getting their track hoe through there is 25 feet. So we should be able to come up with enough space that we can both use the easement adequately with our 8-foot pathway and 2-foot. If it was 8 to 10 feet with 5 feet on either side, it would be a little tight in some areas for sure. So that's why we've asked for that waiver.
Jesse, do you think that maybe you can do 5 feet and then do your pathway? Sounds like there should be enough space.
You would think there'd be enough space in a 50-foot wide pathway, but there is significant erosion in some of the areas that they're going to have to try to fix. So we can try for whatever you'd like, but it is a little tight in there trying to get through that easement and stay through there.
So you'll be improving that whole area, though,
We will
correct?
be improving
And
that
then
area.
So the area that's outside the pathway for their ingress, egress purposes, you'll be improving that as well?
They're going to be going through and doing some repairs. If we need to
Okay,
also help them with repairs, I'll have to talk to the owners and see what their thoughts are on that. But the Pioneer Irrigation District has already established they should be able to go through and repair areas of erosion and their roadway that exists in there. We're gonna cut off, it's bermed pretty significantly too, so we're gonna bring that down a little bit too, which will give them a little bit of fill dirt and a little bit of fill dirt for us as well, working through getting that alignment set up.
I would like to see 5 at least. If that's possible, Jesse, let's see if we can get 5 for that, for the one side, from 2 to 5. And then what about, fencing? Are you gonna do open style fencing? I believe that's what Pioneer Irrigation District requires.
Right, they require, sorry, scale-proof fencing or something like that. I know we've talked to, Katie had already talked about wrought iron or something. I don't know what Carl has talked to the owners about for fencing on that side of it. Right now, we just have it identified as fencing on there,
Okay.
so we can take care of that for sure.
You can have the landscape architect maybe update the plan set.
Yes.
To identify what kind of fencing. That
Right.
would be great.
That would be fun.
Was that all my questions I had for you? Is there anything else you wanted to share?
You wanted to ask about open space and qualified open space.
Yes.
So, I'm gonna start, I should have brought my paper. I'm gonna grab my paper real quick, if that's okay.
Yep.
Landscape plan would be fine for this. We've got it on there a couple times. So in the northernmost corner of the lot, there is lot 55 of block 2 is 23,000 square feet.
It's the dog park.
That's the dog park,
Okay.
open space. Directly below that, there's a green space on the tip of our little triangle.
Mm-hmm.
That is not stormwater, that is going to be open space as well.
Okay.
The next one down, the larger triangle in there, is a stormwater swale. We're not counting that one.
Okay.
So the one above that is 7,000 square feet. We have our pathways at 4,600 square feet and 3,300 square feet running through block 2 there, down, connecting the north and that south part. The large park is 72,000 square feet.
The central one?
That's the central one
Okay.
there.
Mm-hmm.
We were originally counting the clubhouse area, but now that it is public, we're gonna take that off because I don't think code allows us to count that, correct?
So, that's a Katie question.
Madam Hearing Examiner, so for staff, we decided that, since we were going to allow that to count for their commercial component, we did not believe that it should as well count as a perk for their open space.
Right. So that's not in our calculations.
Okay.
Down next to the apartment community, and this is where it gets a little murky for me, and I've asked the surveyor for a better count of where they came up with all of their square footages. Lot 1 down to the side of the apartment community is set up as an open space as well. Just west of the apartments on U-Stick there's a lot 1, it's about 3,000 square feet.
Right there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's about 3,000 square feet outside of right-of-way and landscape buffer along U-Stick Road.
Okay. Do I need to say that I'm, for the record, looking at the landscape? So you're talking about this area?
No, just the one to the west. I don't know. I wish I could step up there. You were on it there no, not that one, to the east of that. Just that, yeah, that green spot right there.
And you're talking this one too?
Part of that green spot is stormwater, part of it is landscape along U-Stick, part of it can be open space. So it's 6,000 square feet, it's got a lot of different usage through there. We're not all stormwater, we're not all landscape along the frontage. So, but I wasn't counting those lots. I wasn't counting either of those lots in my calculations. That one that you were just pointing at is the mailbox lot.
Okay.
I didn't count that in my general calculations. It's 1,500 square feet. The one below it, there's about 2,000 square feet that you could think about calling open space. The whole lot's about 7,000 down there.
Okay.
So there's a portion of it. The 2 green lots along internally along the road, those are stormwater swales.
Okay.
And then we have the pathway coming along the outside of the subdivision, which is 10 feet, 13 feet if you want your full 5 feet,
Okay. Yeah.
at half a mile long.
Because you can't include that because that's not part of your parcel.
It is part of our parcel, it's an easement, it's part of our project.
So your property line goes, so where does the property line, the
The
center
property
line?
line goes to the center line of the ditch.
Oh, okay.
There is an
okay.
easement through there, and you're right, that your code actually says we can't call the easement open space, but your code also says we can call pathways open space, so there's an overlap
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
And that's 24,000 square feet. Putting all of that together gets us up to about 137,000 square feet, which is slightly higher than what we reported in the site summary, or what the surveyor had reported in the site summary.
Okay.
So we will be updating that for sure.
Okay. That would
Okay?
be great. Okay.
So.
Thanks, Jesse.
You're
Anything
welcome.
else? Oh, what about the phasing? I'm assuming you have to do it all in one phase because you need your secondary access.
As far as I know, it was one phase. I do not know for sure. We could
Okay.
certainly put the road through for the secondary access, as part of phase 1 if the owners decided to phase
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So that wasn't my decision or part of my.
Sure. Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this case? Yes, please come up. State your name and address for the record, please.
Conrad Wood, 705 Kaiser Lane, right off of Eastick. I was just wondering, are these buildable lots, or is this a planned community and you guys are going to rent everything out and keep it all internal? Or are you guys
Okay.
selling lots?
When they come up for the rebuttal, we'll have them respond to that. So you want to know if they're going to be owned,
Yes.
homeowners owned, or?
Yeah.
I'm assuming the multifamily will be, since they're not condos, those will definitely be rentals.
Okay, and is the multifamily, this is a question for them probably, is the multifamily necessary, or is that something that could be changed to condos if it's going to be?
I think, sure, right now it's not presented as a condominium, so they would have to be under one single ownership and be rented out.
Okay.
Correct.
So is that something that, is this far enough along where there's public input can change what's going to happen, or is this kind of a locked deal?
Well, nothing's a locked deal, but, I mean, sure, they could come back at a later time and submit for a condominium application if they wanted to condo the airspace in the multifamily, but we'll have the applicant speak on that a little bit more.
Okay, so I would like to see the multifamily switch to condo.
Okay.
If it's going to be sold, just because, there's, where we're at, in this area, everybody is kind of single family. And when you have condos that are split lots, obviously they're trying to get a variance for split lots, so I was kind of assuming they're going to sell them.
Mm-hmm.
That gives pride of ownership. Unfortunately, everybody says they take good care of apartments, but you don't really have any control with the people that are coming in. It's hard to get people out, that kind of things. So that's mine and my fellow neighbors who kind of concern is that we're getting all these multifamilies that maybe are not necessary. They're not really close to anything. Like you're out there on Ustick, they're not really close to government services. They're not close to downtown. They're kind of in a food desert. That's the kind of things that I worry about putting in such a large amount of apartment complexes. That could also be a detractant for, we're already really packing that area with smaller lots as it is. So that's my concern,
Sure.
or our concern.
Sure,
So,
thank you. Connor,
all right.
did you get notified for the neighborhood meeting?
I didn't, but I've been up to date on a bunch of these that are going in around our neighborhood.
Okay.
So,
I was just curious.
all right.
Okay, thank you.
We're all sticking together.
Anyone else would like to speak on behalf of this application?
I didn't sign it, but I stand up and speak.
Absolutely. Come up here, give me your name and address for the record, please.
Name is Dan Romberg, address 5025 Bear Lane, Caldwell.
Basically, I'm sure you hear this all the time, and I appreciate you, taking the time to dig in and make sure things are developing in our communities as we go. Just for this community, honest to God, I had no idea about it. I'm finding out about it right now. We're here for a different complex. The general premise that we keep hearing over and over again from our neighbors in our community is we really do not like what we see, how Idaho is changing. I understand with community development and as we grow, tax surplus for the community, additional items that we can bring in for the community to grow, the more homes there are, the more services that are needed. The stress that this is bringing into our area and development in general has been well noted. I'm sure you're aware of it. We have school districts that are complaining that they have no place to put the kids. They're busing children out of this area just to be able to try and give some sort of education. Teacher-to-student ratios are overwhelmed. They're beyond repair at this point in time. We continue to grow and we continue to add in high-density housing like this in this area. I live right down the street. We have U-Stick currently and Bear Lane and 10th Avenue along the Homedale area that has been under construction with Toll Brothers, a development that is half a block away from me. Had no idea it was going in until we saw the bulldozers. I understand that Caldwell City has to work in the laws that they are on the books, but we need to change these laws. Something like this, I don't see a whole lot of people here in opposition to it. And what I have found living next to the other development that I'm here to speak about is that this 300 feet rule, especially when you're having big, open, vacant lands, the neighbors are not being notified. They have no idea that they're going in. So just in general, I understand you have a very tough job. Thank you for sitting in the position. Thank you, city, for doing what you guys are doing. I understand, we're trying to make Caldwell a destination as we grow. Some of the things are great. Some things in just this overdevelopment and the stresses that it's putting on our resources, our infrastructure, it's gone well past the ability to catch up. I just hope that you keep these things in mind as we progress with high density. I can't speak anything against this individual. I don't know him at all, and I'm not here to do that. That's not my intent. That's not who I am as a person either. He's just a businessman. He's trying to make money for his family, and it all comes down to money. It really is. It's all money. And at some point, we're going to be trading our lifestyles, what we see happening in other states all across our country right now, for that pursuit of money. So I just ask that, you keep that in mind. The traffic, how many units are there that are going to be developed into this?
252, sounds like.
That's going to be over 1,500 new car trips per day on U-Stick. These are statistics I'm sure you're already aware of, regardless of traffic surveys and how they're performed by the people that are paying for them. Okay, that's federal statistics. 7+ car trips per day in our area currently. That is insanity. We can't even get around our neighborhoods right now. We just have a little bit of construction going on with Toll Brothers from one little development, and our traffic on Bear Lane has tripled. We're seeing cars zoom by all the time. So just in general, just making a public comment on that. I really appreciate it.
So real quick, Katie, can you tell Dan how things are noticed, what we are required by Idaho State Code, how to notice the neighbors? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. So it is a 300-foot radius from the property, and that's just what's law.
What it is, yeah.
So I understand, but...
Yeah, that's something that we have to get changed with, our mayor.
Sure.
Hopefully someone that's watching this online, or him, or how it's noted, is mentioned about this. It is just absolutely unreal.
Do you guys take into consideration, if you know that it's going to be maybe more controversial, to widen the radius amount? Have you guys?
Madam Hearing Examiner, in my experience here, I have not seen that happen, but I can't speak for all staff.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, Dan.
thank you very much.
Mhm. Anyone else? Otherwise, I will let the applicant have their time for rebuttal. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Just a couple things. As far as the notice that we're giving out to the public, we understand the frustration that it can be that 300 feet is, could be looked at as, not that large of a radius. However, that is what the code provides, and that is what we are required to do. And so, we have provided, as far as Silver Meadows goes, we have provided the city staff of the applicants that we have, or not the applicants, the neighbors that we have notified, and that has been done according to code. So, and additionally, I think just also that there is a legal notice in the paper about these hearings. I'm just so if anyone's unaware, it kind of helps with the process of learning about the new projects that are going up. Secondly, just the comment on the apartments turning into condos. We feel that the apartments in this project are more than adequate to be able to prevent kind of the what you can kind of see around happening in Nampa, Caldwell, Middleton, of this idea of this urban sprawl of you're having single-family homes over large amount of acreage, when ideally we want to be able to give the citizens of Caldwell affordable housing in a high-density area. And so we felt that apartments were adequate to be able to accommodate that interest. And then my third comment would be the traffic studies. Again, I don't doubt those numbers are correct. I'm sure they are, but the only thing that we can go off of is the impact studies that the city of Caldwell provides and what the local impact studies say on those. So that's what we go off of for our numbers. Lastly, a comment about the restaurants and services around. There is the large chain Walmart is under a mile away from this, so it will provide the citizens to be able to go and shop locally over there.
I guess this is a question for Rob. Rob, what kind of, so based on their TIS, what kind of impact was there? I believe that there's some monetary mitigation that they were going to be responsible for. Go over that in a little more detail.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Ms. Hearing Examiner. As part of the transportation plan, we obviously we are very concerned about the traffic situation in Caldwell. And right now the traffic is significantly worse because we have a lot of projects that are under construction. The city, we have a citywide master plan for transportation, and we currently are refreshing that now and should have a completed master plan next year. And the intent of the master plan is to indicate when the city is fully built out, what does the road system need to look like so that we can accommodate the traffic. And so that's what we require developers to come in and construct as they develop. The city doesn't have the funding to go build roads and widen roads and put curb, gutter, and sidewalk everywhere. And that's why as development comes in, we obligate them to do those improvements, and that's how we get roads completed. In addition to the frontage improvements that they have to do and the connectivity, they also have traffic mitigation that they have to contribute to the city, which goes toward intersection projects and other major projects like that. The Houston corridor is a very critical corridor, and that is why we have 3 roundabouts under construction this year and a large widening project from Lake all the way to the interstate so that we can start opening that up and accommodating additional traffic needs. And that's what these mitigation funds go to, that these developers contribute. So this development is contributing mitigation to the city for those purposes in addition to their frontage improvements, and those are the things that help us complete the road network so that it meets the full master plan that the city has planned out. Does that answer your question?
It does, and that goes into a road trust, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Katie, do we have that condition for the road trust on?
Yes.
It's in the engineering, so that's fine. You're okay that that's there. It doesn't need to be detailed out as a condition of approval. Okay. And you have already talked to the city and agreed upon those amounts?
I believe so.
Okay, great. Is there anything else? Sorry, sir. Is there anything else you have for me?
No, Madam here.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Okay, with that, I will close this public hearing, and based on the testimony and evidence and record for this matter, I will recommend for approval to City Council the subject for the conditions of approval that have been outlined in the staff report. Is there anything else?
Madam Hearing Examiner, would that include the additional?
Yes, it will. All the extra, and I think we made it clear to Jesse and everyone that the additional information that City Council is going to need for their review. Okay, thank you, Greg. Okay, now we're on to new business. And I was thinking about rearranging a few items. I know a majority of you are here for Prairie Creek, and I have a few other, two other cases that probably won't take as much time. So I was going to bump Prairie Creek to action item number 3. So with that, we'll start with number 1, action item, public hearing for case number SUB 23-000004, the Village Condos. And Alex, is this one yours? Yes. Okay, Alex's turn.
Okay, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Alex Jones, Associate Planner, 61 Cleveland Boulevard, and this is the Village Condos. For the application request, the applicant is proposing, or this project is located on a 11.43 acre parcel located on the southeast corner of Lasher Street and Florida Avenue. The applicant is requesting a preliminary plat of the Village Apartments to become the Village Condos. So this is a condo plat. Here are photos of the subject site. Part of the site is developed, and they will be finishing development within the next few years. For the development proposal, the development was approved back in 2016 and has a development agreement, which was signed May 16th, 2016, allowing the development of 31 buildings for multifamily buildings. This application is to condo plat the development. The developer wants to condo the 31 buildings. This application is only for the plat, and no changes will be made to the already approved development.
Okay.
For landscaping, there are no changes to the approved plan. They will follow the criteria that's in their development agreement. Here are the elevations. They will be matching the already existing units. For existing conditions, we have R2, which is subdivision to the north, that will be coming in. C2 to the south for farmland, R1, and then R1 to the east and west. For the comprehensive plan, this is for high-density residential. This still matches that, with a proposed density of 13.6 dwelling units per acre, which still meets the code of under 25 units per acre. Utilities, I believe, are already in the site. That's why we don't have an engineering report on this. For agency notifications, mapping did send us comments that they need to change the street names that they have on their plan to the approved street names. The applicant is working on that and will have that before the city council hearing. Staff finds that this is in conformance with the comprehensive plan and goals, and that if you approve it, that it is subject to the conditions finding of facts inclusion law. And I stand for questions.
Great, thank you, Alex. One question I had is, I thought we should probably add a condition referencing the recorded DA, that they have to apply to all the conditions of that DA. Do you have one in there, or is that, I didn't notice?
Let me double check that real quick. There is not one, but we can add the condition that the applicant will follow the conditions of the DA.
That sounds great. Thank you, Alex. I don't think, I guess for Rob, all the existing infrastructure is in place, correct? All the utilities?
Thank you, Ms. Hearing Examiner. The utilities, my understanding is that they are all in place. If they are not in place, then they are spoken to in the DA, and so the requirements there don't change. They would follow the approval that they have previously received, and so.
Okay, great. Okay, it looks like Steve Arnold is up. Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. For the record, it's Steve Arnold. I'm with 18 Land Consultants, 1785 Westbrook Cove, Boise, 83709. So there wasn't a condition to comply with the original zoning ordinance amendment of 2016, but we would comply with that. And then the one thing that we'd like to add is that we could do this, and I don't know if I put it in my narrative, but it's not on the map. I'd like to do this in 3 different phases. The center portion's built, so I see us coming in with that in the very near future. Then probably the northern portion or the southern one would come in next. Actually, no, now that I think about it, it would be the southern one because we got to build the clubhouse at 40% complete with the buildings. So, with that said, I've read through all the conditions in the staff report. I don't have a presentation. We're basically taking what was previously approved and condominiumizing it. So with that, I'll stand with any questions.
I didn't have that many questions. If you are going to do a phasing plan, I highly recommend that we get that to staff before, this is a recommendation as well, before it gets to city council, just so that's in place. And as far as the open parking, is it just, you're just condoing the units? There's no garages. I just looked like it was open.
You got that correct.
Outside parking,
Yeah.
okay.
It's just the units themselves, and it's been,
Right.
I think the last time I did a actual condo project was in 2002 when I was at Briggs. We did St. Al's, so we don't do too many of these.
Yes, and do we have a final plat criteria for condominiums? I know they have to go through, it's pretty intense.
That's correct. Yes, they will have to come back for final plat.
Okay, great.
No, the final plat maps are really different from condos because we're used to seeing dimensions and everything on the plat. Now we just got units, and the only thing that's dimensioned is my boundary, essentially.
And so everything else is going to be a one common lot?
Correct.
Everything- Okay.
Yep.
And that'll be owned and maintained by just the condo association?
Yeah, the HOA.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't think I have everything else. Thank you, Steve. I do have a few people that would like to
Thanks.
speak. Red died? I probably mispronounced that. I'm so sorry. Is that you? Uh-huh, yeah. Dee Dee. Oh, okay. Thank you. Please come up.
Rod.
Oh, Rod, great.
Rod Deedy, 5401 South Florida Avenue, Caldwell, Idaho, 83607. And pertaining to the property being discussed, anyway, the development. I live and own that property to the south of the border, or they bordered me on the south side, and of the village condos. And I'd like to go on record that back in 2016, June, I never received a written notice of the rezone and comprehensive plan. And I don't know why, but I was still employed at that time, and I traveled a lot when I was working, but I didn't receive a written notice of that hearing, public hearing. Aside from that, they're moving forward with their plans, and I have 2 concerns. Basically, they're coming right up to the back of my backyard and front door and backyard with their condos, which are two-story. They'll be looking pretty much at me, whatever I'm doing, even backing out of my garage and shop. So that's an issue. So we'll get with the first one. That's my concern is security. A security fence needs to be put up by the developers on the southern border. I think for my safety and concern. And the other one is would be a privacy structure, a landscape privacy barrier of arborvitae or something that would grow at least 20-foot privacy there for me on my property. So that was my main concern, and I respectfully ask this of you and the committee, and that's about all I have.
So, Rod, I have a couple questions. So you did get noticed for this hearing, I'm assuming, correct?
I got the one for this one.
Okay, you just didn't get the one when it got approved back in 2016?
Yeah,
Okay.
It was still planned for single family retirement, not condos. It was one-story units. And I believe an assisted living complex was in there at that time. But so anyway, I never got a notice for the hearing of June 2016. And by the time I found out what was going on and seen what was going on, well, it was all two-story approved and condos. So,
did you attend the neighborhood meeting? Have you talked to the developer or applicant at all?
I don't have a problem with their development. It's just that when they come over next to my property, they're going to be they're invading my privacy and my safety, I feel. So.
Sure. Alex, do we have like an aerial where I could see where his home is and versus what? Thank you. There, okay. Let's leave that up for when the applicant comes back up for the rebuttal. Is there anything else, Rod, that you have?
No, that's it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? It looks like John Doper, but it has do not speak.
Well, I was on the other one. I didn't realize there was.
Okay. We'll make sure you get on the right one. Not a problem. So I think that is everyone I have that signed up for this public hearing. Is there anyone else that would like to testify before we throw it back to the applicant? Okay, Steve, if you want to come back up.
Again, Steve Arnold, 18 Land Consultants. I guess the only thing that I got to rebut is, I mean, we're not doing anything different from what was previously approved. I know this property's been for sale. It's commercial. I don't see it staying as a single-family residence much longer. I see actually something similar density being proposed that we're doing on it. So I'm not sure that answers anything, but like the only thing I've got to rebut is we're only condoing. We're not doing anything different than what was previously approved.
Sure. So Steve, can you walk me through maybe some of the landscaping that you guys are going to be providing and the fencing?
There is fencing provided along the southern boundary. We fence off the mechanical units, usually with a 4-foot high fence. And then we do have landscaping along the southern boundary that we could beef up a little bit with additional trees, but we really don't have much additional space to grant, because we do have a lot of, as Rob stated earlier, we got a lot of the utilities already in, and the drive aisles have already been cut. So it would be it would be impossible for us now to increase any kind of open space along that southern boundary.
Steve, do you think that maybe you could swap out some of for like some taller, more buffering mitigation, than what, you know?
We could do some cluster trees down in that area. I just don't know that we could do much more that would resolve, just because we've only got a certain width of open space that we've got to work with at this point.
Okay. And then, so there's not gonna be perimeter fencing around the site? You just said there's gonna be 4-foot fencing around some of the electrical?
The mechanical units
Uh-huh.
is the ones that we've got fenced off. I'm not sure if it was ever required in the zoning ordinance amendment that we have fence along the south. Maybe that's something that staff can help with.
Okay. Yeah, Alex, is that something that should be required?
Madam Hearing Examiner, at this time, staff does not know if that was required back in the original rezone of this. City code doesn't have requirements for fences, unless it has to be side obstructing, which is usually for construction or salvage yards, things like that. So city code does not have anything that we could do at this point.
Okay, okay. It would be great if you could revisit and maybe seeing if you can add some, or swap out some taller tree mitigation, just alongside, Rod's property.
Where the portion
Yeah.
of the house, we can definitely take a
Okay.
look at that.
That'd be great. Okay. All right, with that, is there anything else that you have for me?
Nothing to add.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
For your time. Okay, so with that, I will close public testimony, and we'll recommend for approval, subject to condition of approval listed in the staff report for this action item. With the granting of that additional condition of the DA added to the staff. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. So now, next is action item number 2, and this is a public hearing for case number ON 23-000003, a request by EV Studio on behalf of Michael Robbins to rezone parcel R35705701100 from an R1 zone to an R3 zone, where the comprehensive plan land use designation is HDR, to allow the expansion of the Gables Senior Living Memory Care Facilities. Oh, that was a lot. Okay, Alex, let's
Okay.
please start with your staff report.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Alex Jones, Associate Planner, 621 Cleveland Boulevard. And again, this is the rezone application for the Gables expansion. Just a rundown, this is a rezone. The project is a 2.76 acre parcel located west of the Ustick and Idaho Avenue intersection. They are proposing the parcel to be rezoned to R3 high density residential. Here are some photos of the subject parcel. For the proposal, just some history on this is that they want to rezone the property R3 to match the comprehensive plan. This is currently comp plan for HDR, high density residential. Currently the facility is a legal non-conforming use, as assisted living is not an allowed use in the R1 zone, but it is a permitted use in the R3 zone. This all started when the applicant wanted to do their expansion. At first we thought it was an SUP, but we learned later that since it's a non-permitted use, they'll have to go through their rezone.
So is it right now a non-permitted use?
Correct. It's just a legal non-conforming use.
Okay, okay.
So any expansion they can't do without this rezone.
Okay. So they're kind of grandfathered in right now, but any changes is going to trigger, okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So with that, the applicant wants to expand the memory care portion of their facility, which is on the northern part. It's highlighted on this site plan here. And with this rezone, they're asking for, this also comes with the DA, they're asking for a reduction of their rear setback from 15 foot to 10 foot. that provides them enough space for their memory care facility, and 10-foot is the landscape buffer that they have to have between them and the single-family homes to the north. For landscaping, they will be doing enhanced landscaping in the rear of the parcel. Currently out front, there's not enough space for them to do enhanced landscaping, so they'll do the enhanced along the single-family homes in the rear.
So Alex, what does enhanced mean?
Just more than required, extra shrubs and trees. I don't have the exact numbers at this time.
Okay, but we're gonna condition them to meet that enhanced
Correct.
standard?
They will have
Okay.
to, this landscape plan you see is what they're gonna be conditioned
Okay.
to follow.
Great.
For elevations, this is what we're gonna see. It's going to match the existing building. For existing conditions right now, it is R1 to the north, south, and west, and R3 to the east. For the comp plan, it is high-density residential to the east and on the subject parcel itself, also surrounded by our low-density residential. For public service and utilities, everything's already existing and in place, and we received no comments from any agency or the public. We find that this is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, and that if you recommend approval, that they must follow the FCOs. And I stand for questions.
Was there a DA required with the rezone?
Correct.
Okay,
That is how they're asking for the reduction of rear setbacks
okay.
to be
great.
conditioned in their DA.
Great. I don't think I have any other questions. Let's start with the applicant or the applicant's representative, please. State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Yes. Julie Miller with EV Studio, 725 East 2nd Street in Meridian. The Gables Senior Living Facility is a premier provider of assisted living and memory care in the region. We are looking to expand the existing facility in order to help and serve as many individuals as possible. Our expansion would be in addition to the existing building, providing 12 new memory care units, an activity room, media room, laundry, office space, and an interior courtyard for the residents to enjoy. This facility has been grandfathered in as an approved use due to changing of the city code, municipal code. So in order to expand our facility, we need to rezone into the R3 high-density residential. In addition to the rezone, we are requesting the development agreement to lessen our rear setback from 15 feet to 10 feet in order to provide the required space for the living units themselves, as well as that additional interior courtyard to provide a secure outdoor space for the residents. And with that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Julie. So one of the things I noted in your narrative is that the design will reduce the change of any reduce the chance of change of any noise being transmitted to the adjacent residential areas. So can you tell me more about the design and how it's kind of how you feel it's going to be buffering noises from the neighbors?
Yes, absolutely. So all of our sort of active community space is on the southern side, I'll say, of the expansion.
Hold on, Julie. Just one. I
No
like to
problem.
see visuals when.
Do you have the floor plan too that we gave you? Okay, no worries. So essentially, towards the northern side of the expansion, that's where all of the sleeping living units are going to be.
Okay.
And then all of the sort of community spaces are going to be to the south side of that expansion.
Okay.
And so the louder activities
are going to be buffered.
are going to be
more
buffered,
internal.
basically. Correct.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Next to the courtyard.
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming you noticed for neighborhood meeting. Did you have neighbors
Absolutely.
show up? And
We actually had 2 neighborhood meetings because of our initial submittal as an SUP. One neighbor showed up to the first meeting, and he didn't have any concerns. Another neighbor showed up to the second meeting, and again, they had no concerns, and the community seems to be in support of the project.
great. I don't think I have any other questions right now for you, Julie.
Okay.
Maybe some follow-up. But it looks like I have a few other people that have signed in to speak. Greg Easton?
Don't need to, I'm part of the ownership group, but it was just here to support it.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, Greg. And then in opposition, we have David McDowell.
Oh, I'm not on this, I must have put it on
Oh, you're on the wrong list too. Oh, no problem. I'm gonna have to, do we know? Oh. Okay, so.
It was blank.
Okay. Julie, I don't know, do you have any other follow-up, or it's pretty simplistic? Okay. So based on that, I will close the public hearing unless anyone else would like to testify. Nope, okay. So based on that, based on the testimony and evidence in record for this matter, upon findings and fact conclusions of law, I hereby recommend to City Council for approval for your rezone. So thanks, Julie, for your time. Okay, thank you guys for letting me adjust a little bit. So now we are on schedule to the last item. Let me read it in. Are we good? We close that one? You're good? Okay. Okay, so this is going to be action item number 3, a public hearing, case number SUB 23-000009. Applicant, JUB Engineers, on behalf of Endurance Holdings LLC, is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for Prairie Creek subdivision within an R1 low-density residential zone and within an LDR low-density residential comprehensive plan designated area. Okay, Alex.
Okay, thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. This is the last one, luckily.
Yes.
So, Alex Jones, Associate Planner, 61 Cleveland Boulevard. Again, this is the preliminary plat application for Prairie Creek subdivision. I started off with some photos of the subject parcel. One on the left is looking at it from Bear Lane, about in the center of the parcel. The picture in the middle is looking south from Bear Lane, and then the picture on the right is looking west from Bear Lane. For application request, the applicant is asking for a preliminary plat approval. The project location is a 40.74 acre parcel located south of the Ustick Bear Lane intersection. For the development proposal, the applicant is proposing 118 single-family homes, along with a tot lot, park benches, picnic shelters, and barbecue pits. TIS was performed and reviewed by the city engineer. For landscaping, they are proposing 7.6% open space, with that being about 3.08 acres. Code requires a minimum of 6% open space for lots that are over, I believe it's 8 to 10,000. Along with that is that the applicant will be putting in it is not a regional pathway, but it's a subdivision connectivity pathway along the Phyllis Canal.
Okay.
So that would be enhanced from the normal 5-foot macro pathway to an 8-foot pathway.
5-foot landscaping on both sides?
I believe so.
Okay.
Here are some elevations. For existing conditions, it is surrounded by R1 and county on all sides. For approved development to the north is the Sortera subdivision, which is 60 single-family home units and 8 commercial lots. For the comprehensive goal, we have low-density residential for every adjacent parcel, with a proposed density of 2.9 dwelling units per acre. They're allowed to go up to 3, so they're still under the maximum. Public service and utilities, I think I will have engineering speak on because they had some comments.
Okay. Rob, do you want to?
Yes, I can speak to that. There are utilities that are available to the site. There's a little bit of a tricky situation in that the site was originally coming in, was planning to connect into the water main that's in Ustick Road, but that's actually a different...
utility map we can look at?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Because of the elevation changes, that's actually a different pressure zone.
Oh, okay.
And so water connection will have to take place to the south, and the city is actively working on a project right now to help facilitate that to some extent, where a connection is being made. So the site is at this location here. The city is actually constructing a water line here to bridge the gap for pressure zone 3, to allow pressure zone 3 to continue all the way down to this location here, and so that brings it much closer to the site. And then the developer will they will be obligated to construct or carry that line to their site to have water service to their site.
Can you blow that up a little bit? So are they going to have to get an easement? So where did you, Rob, where did you say the water's going to be stopped?
So the water all the way down to this location right here
Okay.
is pressure zone 3. The Phyllis Canal represents the separation between pressure zone 3 and pressure zone 2.
Okay.
So there is public right-of-way through here, and so there may be a logical path to bring water down
I can have
or
the
up
applicant
to that
too.
site.
Okay.
And so there will be a little bit of coordination that has to be done there. The benefit to that is it brings infrastructure to the area, and no other property owner is obligated to connect to water, but at some future time, if there's ever a desire from someone to connect to water, the water is available, and so that could be a benefit. And then the sewer, I think, is much is more clear in that the sewer would connect out. I believe it connects out to Laster here and then goes down 10th Avenue. Anyway, that's the engineering department. As the plans are submitted for plan review, the engineering department will work with the developer to make sure they comply with those standards and requirements.
So you think they're going to bring sewer down through Lonkey? Is that the street?
There is a sewer trunk line that ends in Laster. Yeah, Laster and Lonkey are the same alignment.
Okay.
So not to be confused there. And then there is also sewer in Ustick Road, and off the top of my memory, I believe this site, I'm trying to remember which direction this site is supposed to serve, but they will, when they construct or design their sewer system, it'll have to comply with the city master plan sewer network. So
they have several options.
They may have several options, yes.
What about for the PI?
So the pressure irrigation is a system that has to be constructed and meet the requirements of Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District. And that would usually be fed by the irrigation water that is currently fed to the site for agricultural reasons. They would have to build their pump station and construct a pressure irrigation system.
I don't know if I noticed on their plans a pump station. Do they have one located, or?
They may not have one located at this point.
Okay.
Certainly when they submit the plans for plan review, the engineering department will be looking for that, and that will need to comply with all the city requirements as well.
And so, since we have you talking, Rob, I've been going through some of the neighbors' concerns, and someone was speaking to the concerns of Idaho Power and capacity. Can you maybe speak a little bit more how Idaho Power approves and designs their work orders for those areas, and how the developer should be paying for enough power for out there to support their own subdivision?
Sure. It's difficult for me to speak specifically to private utility companies like Idaho Power and Intermountain Gas, but what I can tell you is that this development is required to coordinate and work with Idaho Power. Idaho Power will review the site, review the development and the demand and the system that they have in that area. And if Idaho Power is able to serve the site, then they will approve the plan, and they will provide whatever accommodations are needed for the site. If they are unable to, then they will let the developer know and let the city know that they cannot serve the site. I do know that Idaho Power citywide has been constructing a lot of infrastructure to accommodate the growth, and so I'm not concerned that Idaho Power wouldn't be able to serve this site. I expect that they would be able to serve it without any problem.
I think I'm ready for the applicant now. Would the applicant or the applicant's representative like to come up to the podium, please?
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, my name is Addison Caulfield. My address is 2760 West Excursion, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. I am a representative of JUB Engineers, and I am presenting on behalf of Trilogy Development for the Prairie Creek subdivision. Alex did a great job of summarizing project location and some of the information about the subdivision, so I'll be brief in anything that reflects anything that he has already stated. But project location, south of Ustick, northeast corner of the intersection of Bear Lane and Lonky Lane. Oops. I have an aerial and a vicinity map highlighting those parcels, just like Alex did. A little bit of project zoning and project information. The proposed development is consistent with their surrounding development. It is currently zoned R1, low density residential. It's approximately 40 acres in size, 118 single family residential lots. There will be 27 common area lots. The average lot size is about 8,200, 8,300 square feet. The minimum lot size for an R1 zone is 8,000 square feet minimum. The project and the zoning does comply with the city's comprehensive plan and the future land use map, as the future land use map does identify that low density residential currently. And it is compatible with surrounding land uses, as several of the adjacent subdivisions, especially to the east, are currently zoned R1. This is just a snapshot of that preliminary plat that is being proposed. I did want to highlight that the project, if approved, it is intended to be completed in 2 phases. The first phase, again, if approved, would likely be constructed in 2024, with phase 2, 2025-2026 timeframe, which is subject to change based on just market. Some landscaping and amenities, 7.2 acres of common area, with approximately 3 acres of that qualified common area. There is an 8-foot pathway along the Phyllis Canal. There will be a community park, playground, shelter, tot lot, and barbecue area. There will be connecting pathways throughout the development, and they will comply and connect with that citywide trail and pathway system. There will be 6-foot vinyl fencing along the perimeter of the development and a 15-foot wide landscape buffer along Lonky and Bear Lane. This is just, again, another snapshot of that landscape plan that is being proposed. Another point that I wanted to speak on, so a neighborhood meeting was conducted. Technically, from my understanding, it was the second. I think this project has been in the works for a while, and it's changed hands to different planners, not necessarily different developers. While there was a time lapse on application status the first time, this was technically the second neighborhood meeting that I'm aware of, as I learned from neighbors as well. But the neighborhood meeting that I conducted was held on site on January 11th. We extended the time frame as we saw that neighbors did want to chat with us, so it was that hour-and-a-half time frame from 5 to 6:30 that evening. We had around 50 attendees, well attended. The public input was gathered, assessed, and we were very amenable to wanting to learn what some of the issues or concerns were. All of that information was taken back to the developer and to the engineer on the project, and I wanted to highlight some of the revisions and or accommodations that were made based on some of that information that was heard. There is a continuous pathway through the center of the subdivision that was not previously there, as you can see kind of in the middle there, just to create a little bit more connectivity to that park area that can be used by adjacent properties. There is an increased size of the exterior pathway, originally 5 feet to 8 feet, adjacent to the Phyllis Canal. Lots were revised to provide additional common space with the amenities. We ended up taking a couple of the previous residential lots and making them common area lots. And there has been continual contact through the application process. JUB on behalf of Trilogy Development. There has been a property owner that has represented the neighbors in general, and we've been more than amenable to hearing concerns and trying to accommodate as we can. And in that, we were able to provide for verification of property lines to that adjacent property owner. These are some of the possible elevations that could be developed that the developer had sent over, just for example. There's a couple more. This is a 3D elevation of that park area that we developed just as a visual for what that could look like. That's not to say that this is exactly what it will look like, but the great thing about this is that it takes the available space so that the space itself should look fairly similar. More than anything, we want to work together. We will work with the city to ensure we continue to comply with city code and recommendations. We are excited to work with the city of Caldwell to provide quality housing options to the community. We accept all conditions of approval that are in the staff report, and I absolutely appreciate your time and consideration, and I'll stand for any questions that you might have.
Great. Thank you, Addison. I do have some questions.
Yep.
So, planned construction timing, just so I understand, 2024 to break ground?
Yes, for phase 1.
Do you know, are you late 2024, I'm assuming, or whenever?
It depends, obviously, on the planning process itself and also market time frame. I was just directed that phase 1 could likely start in 2024.
Okay. And then, a lot of the neighbors are concerned about capacity at the schools. Have you reached out to the Caldwell School District and spoke with them?
We did. So unlike several of the other projects that we've worked on in the area, so the Caldwell School District was approached and they actually had no comment on the project at this time.
So I noticed that there's a parcel north of Ustick, correct, Alex, that was owned by the Caldwell School District. Do you know, I tried to reach out to them to see what they have slated for that parcel, if it's going to be a middle school, it's 20 acres in size, if it's going to be an elementary. I assume it's too small for a high school. Do you know by chance, like, what the plan is?
I wish I could say I did. I don't have any idea what their plans are at this time.
Okay. Alex, maybe we should reach out to them before council and just see what they have planned. Okay. I tried. I wasn't successful. Let's talk about utilities.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like there's some options. I'm assuming your engineers have vetted and looked at the best options. Can you tell me a little bit more what you guys have planned?
Yes.
For the sewer and water connections?
Mm-hmm. As the city engineer kind of identified, there's a couple different options, especially for, sorry, I probably can. No, you're fine. Sorry. I know, we're kind of working over each other here. So as far as the water goes, it is undetermined, the specific route at this time in which the water line will go. But the developer will work with the city, especially the city engineer, and will work with the city and to remain within the public right-of-way to bring water. It is the developer's responsibility to bring those utilities to the site, so we will just make sure that we are consistently working with the city to make sure that that happens.
And can you tell me once again, Addison, what's the mitigation that you guys did for the neighbors? You added a pathway, and what else was?
So we increased the size of the pathway. We took away some of the residential lots that were originally proposed. And
how many was originally?
I think we took away 3 or 4 residential lots and then made them actual usable common space.
Okay.
And then we created that. We created that pathway from the entryway of the development to the park so that it can be more easily accessed.
And that park's going to be open to the public?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure we'll have quite a few more questions. So I think with that, I'll start with getting the other testimony, and then I'll see if I have any other follow-up questions. So thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, it looks like, that's a do not speak. Conard Wood is marked to speak. that person still? Oh, yes. Come on out, Connor.
It's Conrad Wood,
Conrad, okay, sorry. I was like, oh.
and it's 705 Kaiser. We
Okay.
live directly across the street. So we did attend the January meeting. Once again, I believe some of us have concerns about nobody getting notified. I understand that the law may be, are you on the city council?
I'm not. No.
Okay, so maybe we can talk to the city council and the mayor about possibly making it where people can get notified, because we were also taken aback by the new subdivision that's going in right up the road. That was
north of
addressed earlier.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and I appreciate, they were overwhelmed, the ladies who did the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They were definitely overwhelmed. They weren't expecting us all, and we were a little upset, I think. So a little bit about this entire neighborhood. We just went through this, I believe, towards Ustick, and if I'm looking at this map to the left there, they're going to put in some commercial property and more subdivision homes. And it was a tightly filled subdivision. They were going to come all the way up to the ditch on the other side of the ditch and extend that neighborhood.
Do we have that? Where we had like the subdivisions surrounding the area have been?
Yeah. It's not built, but it is the desolate area right there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, anyway, we attended that meeting along with some of the neighbors, and we were able to get them to get away from the high density and go into more suitable for what our neighborhood is. So a little bit to much bigger lots. That subdivision has high-end homes with large values. You know, even back then, everybody says, oh, the property values are crazy and we need affordable housing. Well, here's the deal. Me and my wife 5 years ago sold our affordable housing to another young couple, and we moved and we paid top dollar for our piece of property. Now, I can't control how things go up, but I definitely pay property tax. Down Savage U, I believe there's only 2 neighbors. On Kaiser, I think there's 16 neighbors maybe. So when we moved in there, we were the only people who moved in there because some people got a divorce, and that was, most of our neighbors had been there for 25 or 30 years. So over time, we've been losing about a neighbor a year, but we really value, you know, moving to the country that's kind of the secondary American dream. Now we're faced with, at this point, a Corey Barton subdivision. So I was at the meeting and I talked to everybody that I possibly could there. The list that was put up about the concerns from the neighbors, none of those were concerns that I wrote down or concerns that was on my list of what everybody else's concerns were, or I even heard mentioned except for the property line issues. People don't care where we're from about their green areas or whether there's a path to their park. We all have an acre. We don't need a path to a park. What we're concerned about is having that many units in such a small area. Now, I understand these are big developers. They're going to pay Caesar his due so that they can get their utilities in and the roads and all the other things. So at this point, as a group, we all need to come together and decide, what can we live with there? Well, what we can live with there is much larger lots and much larger homes that stay in that same value of what all of our neighbors have.
So what would be the ideal size?
I would say that
would be
halving that lot size would be more. I mean, you're only talking 8,000 square feet. We should get that up more than that. You know, we should be doing 15,000, 16,000. I haven't really researched it. I would have to see what mine is. I know that our neighbors look into splitting their lot, which is directly across the street. So literally you could throw a stone at it, and they were told that they had to have 1.2 acres, so they couldn't split theirs, even though they have a double lot.
I'm assuming they're in the county, though.
So that's another thing. I was kind of interested in where the county actually is, because I went to your map about a week ago, And it looks like our little subdivision is the only thing that's not in the city at this point. It looks like the city went all the way around us, and I don't believe anybody had any idea that that was going on, because we would have definitely wondered why the city was encroaching on all of that farmland, except for obviously development. So now what you've done, and we don't have a say, is you have a small community, and we are a community with 3 roads, you know, of neighbors who at some point sold houses to get into the bigger, better deal, and now we're all, unfortunately, most people can't afford to leave. I can, you know, so now I told the conversation that realistically I had with my wife after the meeting was, okay, if we can't get this where we're going to have neighbors of the same value, then we need to leave, you know, which, I mean, that's our option, you know, but as the city council and the mayor and you should really take that into consideration. This is this subdivision was built in the 80s, and we're our own little community out in the middle of nowhere for quite some time. And in less than 5 years, suddenly we have this encroachment that's just out of control. Now, I know people have to have a place to live and they have to have a place to go. So can we get large lots, you know, at least what, you know, is next door, I believe, you know, but I would like to see, you know, the further out you go, the larger it is, but I don't know. Are we going to be putting Corey Barton subdivisions in on the other side all the way to Farmway?
I can't speak on behalf of that.
You know, so that's the rub we're all facing.
Thank you.
So,
thank you for I understand. Thank you so much. Okay, next, Gary Hartnett? Okay. Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Give me your name and address first.
What's that?
Name and address first.
Gary Hartwig, 103 Gold Strike Court. Okay, this is in my backyard.
Can you show me where you live exactly?
Okay, if you see that where they proposed putting in the water line, you see those two, those two, what do you call it, keyholes, whatever?
Okay.
We're the house that's right on the corner to the right on Gold Strike Court, to the right of that right there with the shop, okay, and the 2 shops and the house and that. Okay, and I'd like to echo what this person just got done speaking with what he said. I'm somewhat neutral, but I don't want high-density housing. High density, and I realize it's not considered high density, but it is compared to what's around it. And I also have a little bit of concern of Laster or Lonky or whatever you want to call it right now. I know it's going back and forth between the 2 names, but it's one road that back behind our house, behind our subdivision, that's going to become heavy travel road in our backyard. So we have a road in our front yard and a road in our backyard, and we have roads coming all around us now. I have an issue with not having a fence or something put up on our side of the road rather than, so they put in a nice fence to, you know, close off their subdivision, but then their heavy traffic goes right behind our house. Okay? And so I have an issue with that. Like I said, I'm not opposed to them developing. I don't like the real high density stuff. It's just, it doesn't match the area.
Okay, what do you think qualifies as high density?
Well, I realize that it doesn't say it's high density, but anything under what would be like 12,000 square feet is, in my opinion, high density. Okay, because if you look at it, if you look at like 6,000 and 8,000 square foot lots, that's city stuff. I mean, we're not city. Apparently, we're in the limit, or we're getting close to limits, we're getting on our doorstep. But Caldwell is this wonderful community of wonderful people. We live together in peace and harmony. We need to keep some space. We need to control the development and not just get crazy with the roads and the infrastructure. Some of this stuff, the infrastructure needs to be first before, and not come after. And that seems what's happening, is the developing is coming along and then the infrastructure. So like I said, I'm not opposed to it. I'm opposed to really higher density housing, and I'd like a fence along that road on our side of the road instead of just for the subdivision, but, because that's gonna be a heavy road now.
Sure. Rod, for Lonky, what, are they doing a half-street improvements, I'm assuming, or are they gonna be improving all of it?
The standard requirement is they improve their half street, their side of the street,
Okay.
Plus whatever is needed to make sure that they can have 2 lanes of traffic. And in addition, another requirement that this development has is, in conjunction with other funding that's been provided, is they have to construct the bridge over the Phyllis Canal to connect over to 10th Avenue.
Oh, can you point that out, show that to me, please?
Good.
Oh, right there. And that's a condition in your memo,
Correct.
correct? Okay.
So my point is they putting a fence in there for the subdivision to quiet the road so the people in the subdivision don't hear the road, but not for us. And we're pre-existing, that doesn't sound quite right
Have
to me.
existing fencing right now?
We have basically corral fencing
Oh, okay.
for animals. We don't currently have an animal in there. We've had horses and cows in there before, but currently nothing in there. But won't stop the noise and stuff from that road. Anyways.
One more follow-up, Rob, because it's probably going to be asked, but can you explain how the development, the chicken and the egg, how development occurs and the impact fees are collected and how that gets distributed and the infrastructure gets improved?
Yeah, thank you. And I explained this a little bit earlier, but just to touch on this again, in an ideal world, it would be nice to be able to build all the infrastructure before development comes in. But realistically, we don't have the funding to do that. And so the obligation of a lot of the improvements that are built throughout the city are placed on the developers, and it is their obligation to provide those improvements. And once the entire city is built out, the transportation system would be complete, and then theoretically you have a system that functions properly. The trick is, as the city's growing, you have portions that are incomplete, and that's what causes the struggle with the traffic, and we fully recognize that. In this case, this development would be completing the entire frontage along Lonky Lane. And then also their whole side along Bear Lane, they would be adding curb, gutter, and sidewalk to provide better pedestrian accessibility, and then the crossing over the Phyllis Canal so that traffic can get out to 10th Avenue. And so there are improvements. In addition to that, they have their mitigation that they owe the city, and that is something that would go toward other intersection improvements in the area that are impacted by the trip generation from this development.
My issue is not so much with Lonky or Laster or whatever you're calling it at that point. Right now they call it Laster, and Lonky is on the other side over by Farmway. Whatever you call it, my issue is not with that road, except for the people passing behind my house, and all of a sudden, like, I got traffic behind my house, and I got a road in front of my house, so I'm surrounded by roads. But my issue is, and the other people in my neighborhood, is the same thing's happening to them. My issue is what's happening to 10th Avenue. It's not going to be up to snuff once there's a new subdivision going in across the way that kind of caught us by surprise, caught me by surprise. And then this subdivision going in here, okay, so 10th Avenue is going to start going nuts. It's getting worse and worse all the time, you know. And so that's my issue, not the little road there. I mean, that's as far as aside from the noise, that's what I spoke about. It's when they branch out, when they go different directions from there, that becomes a problem.
I think their traffic impact study looked at 10th Avenue, correct?
Yeah, it would have reviewed especially the intersection at Laster and 10th Avenue, and then it would have also reviewed the U-Stick, whatever connection they have up onto U-Stick. The other thing I will mention is The city has been heavily involved in a major corridor study on Farmway Road.
Oh, okay.
And the future plans for Farmway Road and how soon, within the next year or two, we may start doing major intersection projects on Farmway. And so the intent is when the full system's completed, it's not just to 10th Avenue where all the traffic's going. It'll be a network where there will be several different options for people to get out and get down to Karcher or wherever they need to go. And so I appreciate your comments, and we fully understand 10th Avenue has been a little bit, it needs improvement, and that's certainly on our radar.
All right, thank you.
Are they going to be paying a proportional share impact fee based on their TIS on this one?
Yeah, they have mitigation. And so I will clarify one more thing, right? The city has a traffic mitigation obligation that all developers have, but the city is going away from that, and when our transportation master plan is updated, we will be going to an impact fee.
Okay.
And that will have, that will be probably a little bit more, how do I say it? It's gonna require more of developers at that time.
Okay.
So that we can make sure that we're keeping up with the demand of the road network system.
And that will be pulled during building permits?
Yes.
Okay. Next to speak, I have Jeff Allen. Hey, Jeff. Speak your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, Madam Hearing Examiner, my name is Jeff Allen. My address is 4614 Gap Creek Avenue, Caldwell, Idaho 83607. I've just got a couple of concerns. I'm rather neutral on the project to start with, but my concerns are my home backyard backs up to this, where Phyllis Canal is located.
Okay, can we maybe highlight where Jeff lives? Gap Creek?
No, up north. Right there at that corner. Up more, north more, right about there. Okay, so my concern is I saw some two-story homes as far as possible elevations. I'm concerned about privacy going both directions, backyard to backyard, across that water feature. Were there to be a restriction of about a dozen homes along Phyllis Canal on their part to be single level only, I think that would address my concern, my main one. I do agree with a couple of the other folks that spoke already that in order to blend with my neighborhood, the lot sizes need to be at least a 0.20 acre size. So that's probably a little bit less dense than what is planned. I'm not sure what the acre sizes planned are. I just know the numbers for the acreage there, and I haven't done the math. But the only other concern I would like to express, again, that's already been mentioned really, is traffic at Laster and 10th Ave South. Because one thing that hasn't been mentioned is Phase 5 of Cumberland. Yes, going in there where he's circling it there on the map, is going to add another dozen or so vehicles to the road, plus this 100 and something. And at rush hour, right now, there's nothing coming out on Laster to 10th Ave, but when all of that's built out, there will be quite a bit during the rush hour timeframes going and coming. So I suspect in the future some sort of traffic mitigation there, but especially at Ustick and 10th Ave South will be required. And we're going to struggle through that until we catch up, I understand, but I wanted to make those points public and available so that we all know what we're getting ourselves into.
Sure. So Jeff, did you attend the neighborhood meeting?
I was invited, and I appreciate that question. I communicate with my neighbors via Facebook group quite a bit. We were first concerned that it was going to be January 11th in the dark, out in a hayfield. So we followed along. We were going to show up in our coats and our boots and our hats and our gloves, and we got word that it had been canceled. So we did not go. I did learn that next time I won't trust that resource for information. I'll go anyway.
I see. So you haven't communicated with the applicant or developer, maybe requesting single?
No, in my mind, I had no way to do that and didn't know that that meeting actually took place. I had, again, the understanding that it had been canceled.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do not speak. Let's see then. Jason Jesser, it looks like it's my next person. You're in opposition and you would like to speak? Thank you. Name and address, please.
Jason Jesser, 523 Kaiser Lane, Caldwell, Idaho, 83607. We have about an acre and a half, acre and a quarter, I think it's technically called, directly across from this on Bear Lane. There's a small pasture and then our residence further north. Right? Nope, one more north. So those two sections are ours. That's our pasture and our house right there. So, I mean, I can go on and on and on about selfish reasons why I wouldn't want this subdivision to go in. We have pretty good views off to the east right now, and those will be taken away. You know, we have 3 small children and a small little homestead we're trying to build here. So a few, just concerns right off the bat is our cows right now, who are out in that pasture, when we first moved in there, we've only been there for about a year, would hug that fence. They'd go out there, eat the grass on that fence. Since tent has shut down and there is a lot more traffic going by, I've noticed they have moved away from that fence. With this subdivision going in there, I mean, we'd sit out on our deck and there'd be maybe a couple cars every 5-10 minutes. Now every 3 seconds there's a car going by, and that's only going to increase. Which means that pasture is going to decrease in size because of noise. So my concerns are just with this area, and I mean, noise pollution, light pollution. Anybody that lives in this area is going to have to deal with, the extra lights that they have, the ambient lights, the noise. I would suggest a minimum of 1 acre lots. If you look around it, besides what is to the east of the canal, it is 1 acre lots, if not 2 to 5 acre lots around me.
So is Cumberland, are they acre lots? No.
Except for on the east side of the canal.
Oh, okay.
So there needs to be some sort of transition. I know we're kind of an island out there, but to be putting that on people's front doors and back doors seems a little bit ridiculous. I know subdivisions are required to do so many improvements around the area. As what I see is the bare minimum. They put in an extra turn lane, and that really doesn't accomplish a whole lot with traffic in the area. It sounds like to do things appropriately, from what I've heard, some people say they'd have to get other subdivisions in the area also in the project because it would be too expensive.
To do what? What do you mean?
Well, it sounded like with the Farmway thing, to expand Farmway.
Oh, okay.
It was just mentioned that they wouldn't be able to do it with this subdivision because they wouldn't have the funds. They would have to further build out with more houses before they would have the appropriate funds for the infrastructure for this area.
You're referencing what Rob, our engineer, was
So,
saying.
I mean, like I said, I can go on about my own selfish reasons for not wanting this, but let's think about the community. I mean, there's nowhere for these kids to go to school. We don't have a school next door. My kids don't go to school in the area. The infrastructure's not there. There's that little green Walmart that has turned into, I don't know what, trying to be a super Walmart. We go in there and the lines are out the door. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we don't have the infrastructure for it. Was that my 3-minute timer?
Buzz,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
I just think it'd be highly recommended to take into consideration that minimum of 1 acre lots and a nice slow transition into the county.
Real quick, while Jason's here, what are we doing about streetlights and light pollution? What is the city requiring?
Nothing.
Thank you. Good question. The city does, as part of their frontage improvements, they are obligated to construct streetlights. The minimum standard is a streetlight every 350 feet on their side of the road. We have had situations in areas like this, especially down at Mallard Park, where some of the streetlights have had baffles or reflectors on them to prevent light from being cast out. But honestly, with the new LED technology they use for streetlights, the light's controlled pretty well.
Okay.
But we do recognize there will be streetlights out there, and that's just a safety mitigation item that we require for traffic and for.
But they're
for the
like
roadways.
downward facing. They're not. It's not.
Yeah, they
Right.
they face downward to the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're also LEDs, so they're the brightest light we've ever had.
Is that?
Yeah. I mean, compared to the old lights that they had, they are brighter, and that's why they're more effective for safety reasons. There are areas where they've been sheltered, and there are areas where the lighting, our electrical department can actually control the brightness put out, and so they can control them so that in some areas they will dim them at night. In the late hours, they'll dim down to 30%, and then if there's movement or motion, then they'll ramp up for a period of time. But
okay, thank you.
So with that, I know there was a gentleman that was speaking about single-level houses on his side. I mean, obviously, we would want the same on our side to see our views. Is that something, I mean, I guess this is my first time we've ever had to do this, but we need to try and, I thought we'd have to try and do that here, just voice our opinion on it. Is that something we need to directly contact?
Well, I asked the other neighbor if they attended the meeting, if that was presented during the neighborhood meeting. Do you know if?
Oh, I'm sure there was a lot of things that were presented in that neighborhood meeting. I mean, it was right outside on that corner, freezing cold, and it was very unsafe, to be honest with you, because there was more than 50 people there, and they were all on the street.
Yeah.
I mean, I live right across from that. It was very unsafe, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, thank you. Doug Olson is the next person I have that check mark to speak.
My name is Doug.
Oh, Doug, are you sure? Okay. Daniel Romberg is next. Name and address. You'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Dan Romberg, 5025 Bear Lane, Idaho Fantastic Farms, business owner, citizen, transplant, concernee. If you can zoom out just a tiny bit on that picture. So right there in the center of the proposed development, you see the brown field to the south side of the development where they are proposing. So that is my land there. That is Idaho, Idaho Fantastic Farms. The property down in the lower section, that is our property that we purchased. Would like it matter of record. I don't know when the notices were sent out for the annexation and the rezoning of this section of land. All I know that many neighbors said they had no idea that it happened. People that have lived there longer than me across the street to the to the west on Bear Lane. One of the gentlemen just moved in a year ago, was just speaking. But everyone in those general neighborhoods, as far as I have heard through the neighborhood meetings and communications as of that time, had no idea this was even happening. So my land, directly to the south, is county. Okay, so I am in county. I do understand in the proposed development plans in the future that county is anti-development to, mass development, while city is pro. What we see happening throughout our county areas, like the first gentleman that spoke mentioned, we've moved out here for better qualities of life. We have traded certain things just to try and have these spaces for our community. The entire surrounding community is on larger lots. The development right there, abutting 10th, where you see the high development of housing right there.
That new development.
That snuck in. Not one single one of us had a single idea that was coming in. So in his points, it perfectly illustrates what we see going on all throughout Caldwell, how they're changing our community. They're doing this 300-foot rule where, we're only adhering to the rule of 300 feet, so we adhere to it, we're good to go. And there's maybe 1 or 2 people that are getting notified because the larger sections of land that you see here only require a few people to be notified, and everyone in the surrounding area are completely left in the dark of what's going on. The only reason you're seeing so many people here today is because we mobilized. We had a few people seeing what's going on, how this development right there, that off of 10th, again, I don't know that development name, snuck in, and it caught everyone off guard, and it was too late to do anything. Now we see it happening here where only a few of us were notified in this 300-foot rule on this section of land, and the same thing is happening again.
Sure.
So,
And I think we asked Katie, but site was posted. City Caldwell posted the site. How big are
we didn't see them.
Oh.
We didn't see them. There's another section going on right across Bear Lane. where the sign was literally a piece of paper that was tacked up on a stick, and the stick was knocked over. That's across the way, that's not this development.
Okay.
But didn't get any notices. At the meeting, I know my time's run out, I'm sorry, but I'm speaking for a lot of people here.
I'll give you just a little bit, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have to get into this because, there has been a lot of communication with JOB, on this, you know, with Corey building all his homes here. And what was communicated to them specifically at the meetings, on the road, side of the road, and also in emails that I have in a package that I submitted as part of the record, you can see it there. The actual request from the majority of people that I have been in communication with was no 2 stories, request for 1.5 to 2 acre parcels to conform with the neighborhood. Let's see. You should have that in the emails. No 2 stories, lots, larger lots will accommodate, you know, the living area square footage designed for new housing to where, you know, they'll have that space for that. Fences, if they were to be put in, to conform with the neighborhood, everything is rail. I do understand the other gentleman's concern about, you know, noise. A fence is not gonna knock down your noise. It's also gonna significantly, when you have that new road put in, like I have in that whole section of land right there, and this is a selfish thing, but it does also affect other people. It immediately lowers the value of your property. You are now road frontage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that stuff. You have those records that I gave you in there. Other people are talking. I do echo most of their concerns. And, you know, I've got some real big concerns about what you guys are talking about for the utilities not being able to be brought in right now, and they're trying to make special accommodations. They're going to be routing through city, up through people's houses and stuff that want no desire to connection to these utilities. Their lives are going to be uprooted to make space for this development that Corey is trying to bring in here that doesn't conform to the neighborhood. He did the same thing to the south in a much larger parcel. It made news everywhere how he overbid for the property parcel, and when it wasn't allowed to be high-density housing, he backed out. These same things are going to be happening over and over again if we just continue to let this happen.
So Alex, when, cause I think that was one of my questions, when did this get rezoned to R1?
Madam Hearing Examiner, just give me a minute to
Oh, you're
look that
fine,
up.
yeah. And we can keep going and, yeah, while you research. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next on my list in opposition is Kathy Robertson. Hi, Kathy. Name and address, please.
Kathy Robertson, 5023 Bear Lane, Caldwell, Idaho. Okay, so I know it's a repeat, but density's too high. Surrounding neighbors are at a minimum 1 acre. Some of them have obviously a lot more acreage. If they could, at least on the outer edges, go half acre maybe per home. I mean, since you're asking for specific numbers, to try to ease the transition between city. You've got city and county, and there needs to be a transition there between, in your city, you're going to infill, you're going to build larger and apartments and all that, but as you start going out, it just needs to fit more with the surrounding community. You've got farms around you. A lot of people that come into these subdivisions, they don't appreciate that the farmers burn their ditches, they spray their fields, they have noisy animals. These things are going to be going on all around them, and they're probably going to be unhappy about it because they don't understand that they're near the county and what goes on there with farming. I think that the play area seems a little bit small for all the homes that they're trying to put in there, and it's also scheduled for phase 2, so I'm not sure where everyone's going to go until phase 2 happens. So there's nowhere to safely walk or ride your bike on Bear Lane, which is why the meeting was so dangerous at night. We had nowhere to even really park our cars and get out. It wasn't good.
Right.
So it's not a good place for children. But it's the county. We're not supposed to have sidewalks and nice places, right? We're a farm. It's animals. We're not supposed to have all those things, and so it's just not a good area for the kids. And along the bottom too, I know they've talked about where they're going to get their water from, but hopefully the engineers are also deciding where our runoff water goes, because now they're putting a road in.
That's
That's right where our runoff goes for irrigation. So once you build your road, where's that water go?
That's the Rob question, yeah. For their, based on code, the continuance.
Yeah. Thank you. The state code requires that any development is required to perpetuate any tailwater runoff for irrigation purposes or any other storm drain purposes. And so if there is water running through this development or through where the road's supposed to be, then the developer is obligated to collect that, pipe it, and continue the conveyance through their site to where it was originally discharging to.
Okay. Just don't want to forget.
Sure, no, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Madam Hearing Examiner,
Yes.
to answer your question, this was annexed back in 2006.
Oh, okay.
And from our records, it shows that it was just annexed as R1, low density. So it
And
never
was
went
there-
through a rezone.
Was it just straight rezones, or wasn't no layout or anything attached with it?
From what we can see, that's correct.
Straight
I'd have to
rezone.
go into more detail for the annexation application. With the web map, I can only see when it was annexed and if there was a rezone or not.
Okay, thank you. John Tilford, excuse me. No, not John.
Hi, I'm John Tilford, 5220 Bear Lane. So I'm in the county up there, and I like to do my dove hunting out in my yard, and I kill my animals in my yard, and I hang them up, I butcher them, I do everything I need to do, and I don't need another subdivision moving in with people telling me how I have to live and how I have to do things. Right now, 10th is closed. Traffic is terrible.
Is 10th closed? Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And
Due to
I'm calling the sheriff department, I call the city, and we don't get no officers out there to slow that traffic down. And I have to back in off of Bear Lane into my driveway. I'll be doing 45 miles an hour down the road, and I have people passing me. And it's gotta stop. And I don't need another 100 cars driving up down that road. And they race up and down that road. They stand out there and they videotape themselves as they race down that road at all hours of the night. And what's gonna change? You're gonna put more cars out there, and we just got a bigger problem. If they have put a subdivision out there, it ought to be 2-acre lots like everybody else. They shouldn't be able to just keep jamming the houses in there and taking all the farmland. You guys forget where your food comes from. And you keep taking the farmland, it's all been set up to irrigate that. And you take all the irrigation, are you putting in the money to extend the irrigation out in the Wahies? So they still have land to farm? So that's my problem is we don't need any more. And I don't need them running a water line down Bear Lane or a sewer line. I got what I need. And just keep it to yourself. I just don't need it. So that's my concern and my issue with the whole problem.
And do you have septic right now, I'm assuming?
Huh?
You're on septic, I'm assuming?
Yes, I am, and on a well. And so I don't want them digging up Bear Lane, they go down there, and then the next thing you know, they want to start charging you to go front of your land in case you ever want to hook up, and then your septic system goes bad or your well goes bad, and they won't give you a permit to drill or put in a new septic tank, and then they mandate you to hook into their privileges, and I don't want their privileges. I can't use the library, so why do I don't want none of their privileges.
So Rob, what is the case? What does the city require? and county.
I moved out to the county so I can do it my way.
Yeah.
I just don't need the city's help.
Okay, I'm just curious. I just want to ask real quick, like.
Yeah, thank you. So, if a water line, for example, was extended through one of these county roads, there would be no obligation for any property owner to connect to it.
Okay.
And there's no obligation for any property owner to annex into the city.
Okay.
It's simply a water line running through the road to get to another location. The only requirement that would obligate then a property owner to connect to the water is if they were doing a complete rebuild on their site and pulling building permits.
Okay, then they would be required.
And if they wanted to annex, then they would be required to,
So if they annex or, okay.
So, yeah, so that's another law that you say you don't have, but 10 years down the road, now it's a law, and I don't want it. I don't want it in front of my place.
It sounds like they're not gonna force annex.
No, not now,
Yeah.
but what about 5 years from now?
Oh, I don't have a crystal ball.
Okay, so then I don't want it in front of my place. I don't want their garbage in front of my house, because in 10 years, when I need a septic tank, I'll put in my own stupid septic tank. But I'm gonna get a county's permit, and I don't need the city telling me, no, you can't do it. I just don't need it at all whatsoever. And if everybody else would think about that, because I know people that this has happened to, they run city and sewer down the road, and they're 500 feet off of the main road, and then they need a septic tank, and it's $40,000 to hook up to the sewer. And then they gotta go get lawyers and everything to get it all, figure out what they're gonna do, and this is exactly what'll happen. You can sit here and tell me it ain't gonna happen today, but I can tell you it will happen down the road, and I just don't need it. I just wanna stay out there, I wanna be left alone.
Thanks, John. Okay, so who's next? Judy Williams, you didn't check either box, so I don't know, would you like to come up and speak? Come on up, give me your name and address for the record, please.
Judy Williams, 102 Gold Bar Court in Caldwell. My husband's supposed to be here to do this, so I didn't know if I was going to talk.
Oh, that's okay.
So, I agree with what everybody is saying. I don't agree with that we're being selfish, because we chose what we chose for a reason. So, and us not wanting that dense a population right behind us, I don't think that's selfish. I do think maybe them wanting to cram that many houses in that small of a place may be selfish. So, and also about the playground, that's such a small playground area for that many people. That's not really taking in consideration those people that they're trying to cram into that small of an area. Our land where we live, it will back up right into the road. The road will be going right behind our property. And so we bought where we bought for privacy. That's one of the things I was looking for.
Judy, where exactly are you at again?
You see where the two cul-de-sacs are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to the left, and to the right. That's our property.
Okay.
And so the road would go right behind our fence line. And so the houses that would be there would be looking right into our backyard, which would take away totally our privacy. So, and then the road, the cars going by, like has been already been said, would cause a lot of noise and more commotion, and we'd lose what we have. Everybody in that area would lose what we have by that. So, anyway, I know my husband would have said a lot more, but.
It's great, Judy. Thank
So,
you so
thank
much.
you.
Yes. Okay. So I know a few of you accidentally signed up on the wrong applications. So we'll just do one at a time. So who else would like to speak? Okay, we'll start here.
My name's David McDowell, and my address is 607 Kaiser. First of all, since the JV, whatever it is, I can't remember the last one, but they said that they didn't talk to the school had no comment. Well, I called the school today, talked to the principal.
Oh, okay.
And I asked them,
Okay.
well, first I asked them,
Principal at where?
at Valley View
Oh.
Middle School, which is a mile and...
We're in Boise School, or excuse me, Caldwell. Caldwell School District.
Right.
You guys are, okay. So you talked to Valley View.
I talked to Valley View.
Okay, yeah.
And I asked them, I said, could you mind telling me how many children you have in that school, attending that school? She said 670. She goes, why do you ask? I said, because I'm going to a hearing today, because they're going to put in a Corey Barton subdivision, and I told her about that one, and then I told her about the one on 10th. And she told me, we don't have any room for them. We're overcrowded as it is. They're going to build a subdivision that they want to get done in 2024. That's not going to be time enough for a school. That's number one. Could you put that picture up of the fields on Bear Lane that you had? This is like the first picture or the second picture. I'm a retired real estate appraiser. I actually fought the county several times and never lost when it came to values. Okay, now the picture I want is the one that looks across the field from Bear. That's, I think, before that one. It was just a picture of a field, and it was the east and the west, and I've got a point to make. My point is right now, I live next door to Jason. I've got horses. He's got cattle. We both have, I have chickens, he's got chickens. He's even got a goat, I think. We all have animals around there. Okay, there you go. Take that one right there on it says from Bear Lane, that one. That's the one I want to look at. Okay, that's my view out my house right now. If you look, there's a subdivision back there, the one that's the custom nice homes. Okay, you can still see the view. When I bought my house, it says view of the mountains. Value went up. Look off to the south, I've got the view of the Owyhees. 2-story houses what I'll be looking at now. You look at that picture, and now that's going to be my view. The backside of Corey Barton houses stuck in 3 inches apart, basically, and I'm going to be looking out my yard into the back of a bunch of houses. I've dealt with Corey Barton. Those homes in the back there are single-level custom homes. They're nice homes. Corey Barton is not a high-grade home. Anybody knows that. Look on the internet. We used to give them a deduction for quality of construction. We'll give them a deduction for that. The other thing is, she says she listened to all of us talk. There was more than 50 people there, but I wasn't going to count. We all signed up for the paper. But not one thing that we asked for. We asked for a bigger lots. Didn't answer that. We asked for all houses to be single level so that we're not looking at a 2-story big house sitting side by side. Didn't address that. We asked for several things. They didn't address anything. They put a pathway so all of the residents in the subdivision can go to the park. Okay, so what are we supposed to do? Send our kids across a busy street that's going to get even busier to go to a park that when we got one down on the end of 10th Street over by the Snake River? Why? That park isn't for us, it's for the residents of that place, but that wasn't accommodating us at all. Now, I talked to the county commissioners, and they have the same kind of idea we have, is get those houses over there where they're single-level custom homes, and then gradually, because they're on maybe 1/3 of an acre, and then go to like an acre, and then gradually get into the county. I've seen that done in many, many states, in many places I've traveled. I'm from Idaho originally, but I've been to other places, and those places still got the tax revenue. Now, you get all these kids. I used to be a bus driver after I retired. I thought I'd do something for a while, so I was a bus driver for Brown for 2 years. You know the kids in my neighborhood are getting bused all the way to Hillview, or Ridgeview High School? That's like 8 miles away, maybe longer. And the ones that are supposed to go to Valley View, my neighbor across the street was supposed to go to Valley View Middle School. He got bused all the way across the street. You go in, and somebody mentioned earlier, you try to go to the grocery store, that's impossible. number one, if you can get through the line, number two, there's so much stuff that's missing on the shelf because it's the only store within 4 miles. So now, okay, so you have to go shop somewhere else. That adds more traffic to the already congested roads just to go grocery shopping. I can't think of one good thing this thing's gonna do. It's gonna drive our property values down. It doesn't conform to the area. Look at the aerial shot that you have there. They're all farmland. They're all acreages. And you've got a bloomin' subdivision that Corey Barton is notorious for, shoving them as tight as he can. And when he doesn't get his way, he just, well, I'm just not gonna do it, like he did that auction property. He wanted a variance to get those in closer and tighter. And the county said, no, we're not gonna let you do that. So what did he do? He bailed. Corey Barton is in for the money. He doesn't care what we think. He doesn't care about our view. He doesn't care about what kind of, what it's gonna do to our neighborhood.
Right, Dan. Thank you.
Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Okay. Who's next? Who would like to come up and testify that? Gonna go going? No, I will. Okay. I said I wasn't gonna speak, but I will. Come on up.
My name's Nikki Jesser. I live at 523 Kaiser Lane. That's my property out to the west. That's my fencing.
Oh, okay.
I oppose this for many reasons. The trash, the infrastructure, the schools, the hospitals, the pharmacies. They're overwhelmed in that area. You can't go by that Walgreens and not see the drive-through line wrapped around the store. Not only the Walmart that my husband mentioned, but it's not necessary. We live in acre lots. We have 2 acres. Our neighbors have 5. It needs to be acre lots for all those reasons above. We don't need a park. If they're going to do a park, why not make it a luxurious park and have a pool for us to use? If they're going to put a path, we may as well have a pool that we can use. We already have the park in our yards. I just really oppose this, and I'm sure I'm wasting my breath, and I'm sure we're all wasting our time here. But I really hope you take consideration into not passing this or have them listen to our concerns, because they didn't listen to our concerns January 11th across the street, where there was a lady in a cart that almost got hit by a car because COVID is their reasoning why it was outdoors at 5 o'clock on January 11th. On a 2-way highway that's 45 miles per hour. It's unnecessary, it's unsafe, and for that I am ashamed that they would even consider even bringing this forward, knowing that they put us all in jeopardy that evening on that road, in the dark. So again, I hope you take the consideration of all of us in our time and opposing this for them not listening to us the first time, then we have to come back again and waste 3.5 hours that we've been here to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. Anyone else would like to come up and testify? Okay, I'm gonna No, I don't. Can he come back up and speak?
Somebody else give you their time?
I don't know. I gotta know.
It's just like Congress. Can I have one of my neighbors give me their time?
Oh, Alex is shaking his head. Sorry.
That's because he doesn't want to hear us, or is that like?
Is that an actual rule?
I think that is an actual, yeah.
What's the statute number? I'm just kidding.
Want to elaborate a little bit? No? Yeah. Okay. So, now, everyone be nice, and we're going to let the applicants come back and have their 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes of rebuttal. So, Addison, are you ready?
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Again, Addison Caulfield, 2760 West Excursion Lane, Meridian, Idaho 83642. I appreciate the opportunity to rebuttal a little bit. I think a lot of my answers are going to sound a little bit repetitive. As for the notification, the 300 feet is a requirement. That's state code. So we followed what we were supposed to do, especially in compliance with city code. I do want to mention, there's been a lot of discriminatory or specific words, and towards Corey Barton development. So while there might be certain feelings towards Corey Barton development, this development is intended to be a quality community for people to live. Lot sizes, again, these parcels, or this parcel was annexed with the R1 zoning. It was not rezoned to be R1. So this is a parcel that the city had identified to be low-density residential. And in that, the city's code identifies that the minimum lot size for a low-density residential is a minimum of 8,000 square feet, which this community absolutely complies with. TIS was developed, and we are amenable to all mitigation measures. With that, we are creating that connection to 10th. While 10th is closed at the time, that is just temporary. It will open again. And with that, that is a significant roadway improvement and a significant investment to build a bridge over any canal or lateral structure in this area. That bridge will help disperse traffic. Regarding some of the elevations, as that was a concern expressed by more than one, the developer has a history of working with specific property owners regarding elevations when necessary. The existing elevations for specific lots, they have not been determined at this time. So we're coming with you for a preliminary plat. Specific structures have not been identified at this time for this plat. And regarding utilities, they're not meant to be disruptive. The developer, it's in their best interest to stay within the public right-of-way to move utilities and to bring them to that property. As easements and anything going over anyone's private property is an investment to them. So staying within the public right-of-way is absolutely in their best interest, and that's what they are intending to do. And regarding the school district, I think it was already noted, but this property lies within the Caldwell School District, not the Valley View School District. I think I took the time I needed to rebuttal anything that I could at this time. I appreciate the time and consideration. Thanks.
So
Yeah,
I
sorry.
have questions.
Okay.
I have questions
Yeah.
now. So, let's talk about the landscape buffer along the street frontage.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to be providing some berming and fencing to kind of help with privacy? Because privacy has kind of been like something I've heard
Mhm.
from everyone.
Yes.
And that is a concern. They were here first, and so how? What kind of mitigation for privacy for these neighbors have you guys
So, yep, so at this time, it is determined that the developer will put a 6-foot vinyl fence around the perimeter of the property.
Okay.
There is a 15-foot buffer, especially around Bear Lane and Laster, or Lonky. And with that, there's significant buffer around the 8-foot pathway that is adjacent to the Phyllis Canal. So, and regarding any kind of landscape berm to higher or to increase the height of some of the landscaping, that is a question that I have personally asked the developer, and they're absolutely amenable to doing that.
Okay. If I recommend approval, then I would want berming. So kind of like what we did with Katie's project, varying 3 to 4 feet. So my next question is, I know that you don't have the floor plans and building elevations selected yet, but is the applicant, would he consider having in certain areas, designating certain lots as single level homes and not 2-story? Is that something that you guys discussed or would actually consider?
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. So in my discussions with the developer after the neighborhood meeting, as that was something that was heard as a concern, I had mentioned that to him, and that was something he was amenable to doing for property owners if a view was of concern. So I think he is amenable to working with elevations depending on what that looks like for adjacent property owners.
Do you think that we can maybe provide, like, going through and picking which lots that you'd be willing to designate as single level before city council? So just kind of looking into that and seeing what you guys would be willing to do?
Sorry, I'm just writing that down so I can make sure that I have it. I think that is something that we're amenable to doing, yes.
Okay. What about the park? Could you add that to phase one? Or is it, can we see the phasing plan again?
If you go to mine, I think I have the plat up there. Regarding your question, Madam Hearing Examiner, it is something that I will take to the developer specifically and the engineers. If it is going to be dependent on whether or not this gets approved, I can pretty much guarantee they would be happy to move it to phase one.
What about, have you guys discussed additional landscaping along the frontages of the roads for additional screening? Discussed?
So, in our discussions with the city, it was found that the 15-foot buffer, along with the roadway improvements, would be significant. So, aside from that, at this time, we had not.
Alex? So, knowing that some of the parcels out there are agricultural in nature, are we going to have the right to farm statement placed on the final plat be required?
Madam Hearing Examiner, I don't know the answer to that at this time. It's something I have to discuss with the director.
Okay. Anything else, Addison, that you would like to discuss? Oh, I did have one more question for Rob. Sorry, Rob, I've been bugging you. Did you guys ever look at putting a stub road up to the north parcel? Or do we know so the north parcel looked like it was an annex as well. Do we have any idea of what is planned for there, or is someone that owns that parcel to the north here?
Are you referring to this parcel right here?
Yes.
I don't know the status of that parcel. I presume it's a different owner and not part of this development.
Okay. And did you ever consider a stub road to that parcel?
No, a stub road was not considered to this parcel. Okay. You're talking about through the development having a stub out?
Yeah, a connection point to that.
As far as I know, that was not considered.
Okay. I think that is all the questions I have. Let me just make sure before you sit back down. Sorry, Allison. Oh, the Phyllis Canal. So you have a pathway. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like the previous hearing. Do you guys own to the center line, or that's owned by Pioneer?
It is owned by the irrigation district, okay. So a license agreement will be obtained to be able to construct within any portion of that.
And that there's enough sufficient width to accommodate that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you, so you said that you removed 3 lots from your route?
It was 3 or 4.
Did you consider any transitional lots, like for up against, that are close by the acre properties to like transition and then?
I can't speak to consideration from the engineer and or the developer. As of now, we just have made sure that we've complied with the flume and with the zoning that's required.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all I have, Addison.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
I have problems with people running up and down that road all the time before they close town. Ongoing thing, ever since we lived there. It's not gonna change because they reopened 10th Avenue. It's always been a problem. And they're not gonna consider.
We'll have to leave all outbursts. Just so you all know, this will be going to City Council, no matter the decision made today. So if you would like to send the Planning and Zoning Department more comments, we can add those to the reports. And if you would like to show up for the future hearing, you are all welcome to do that as well.
Been determined for a future hearing?
Correct. This is just a recommendation. No matter what recommendation the hearing examiner makes today, it will go to city council.
Days from now, isn't it typically?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay,
It will be, just so everyone knows, you will receive a notice for it as well. It has to be re-noticed and published to press, so. Correct.
Can we increase the notification for city council? That's a Robin question.
Yes, that would be the director. I can speak with her about that.
Okay.
It sounds like we have to speak to her about the notice anyways.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I will close the public hearing. And I usually don't give reason why for my recommendations, but I really appreciate everyone's time today and consideration. And it's hard, but my job is to look at the zone, and it's already zoned R1. It already has entitled rights to it back in 2006. Council can take other objectives and look at other things. I unfortunately have to go based off of code. And I understand everyone's concerns. I've seen this numerous times in Ada County, Canyon County, where you guys have been there first, and then slowly you get engulfed around the city and you're like, what happened to our countryside? But I personally have to look at what the code is. It's R1. They are meeting all the code standards. They're not asking for any exceptions. They're not asking for any variances. So my obligation would then have to be to recommend approval for the case. Again, this will be heard by city council, and they can take other factors into consideration. So it will get noticed and probably be within the next 30 days.
So you can't make requests as hearing examiner for changes based on what the community has requested?
So they are entitled to have at least a minimum 8,000 square foot lot size. They're entitled. They already have the zone. So I can't ask them to upzone or to make the large lots larger. They're here and they're meeting their minimum requirements. So but again, council has more range. And it's more political. It's not just black and white for me. So but I empathize, I understand the situation, and I hope that everyone comes back out to city council and testifies like they did today. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You will get notified by mail, and then there will be public signage, which I think that we should have a bit larger signs.
We are in discussion about that.
Okay, I would be in support of that. And it'll also be in the Press Tribune, under notification.
Madam Hearing Examiner and everyone here, if you check the city's webpage, we do post as well on there when hearings will be done, and the agendas with my staff report that you can see.
And you can still send in written testimony and stuff to Alex. That can be part of city council's packet as well. So, yeah.
Madam Hearing Examiner?
Yes.
I know we haven't closed this
We haven't
fully
closed.
yet.
Yes.
You did have the discussion about berms along all the frontages.
I would like to see, yes.
Would you like to add that as a condition?
Yes, with fencing, yes, just
Okay.
for buffering, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
3 to 4 hours a day for no reason.
So, I think that's it. And with that, I will close our public hearing for Prairie Creek subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
How is it closed? Is there anything I can talk to one of these guys?
Absolutely. Oh. I know.